Namaskar and a very, very warm welcome to yet another impactful episode of Impact Leaders with Simply Suparnaa. But before I bring on this very inspiring personalities to your digital screen and formally introduce her to you, I'd like to start by invoking the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead, and we will start by reciting a very old Sanskrit verse, that of the Saraswati Vandana, that talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom and the light of knowledge. Ya kundendu tushar dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, ya brahmachitta shankar prabhutibhi, devai sada vandita, sa mam patu saraswati, bhagavati nishesh jadyapaha. And without much further ado, let me introduce to you this very inspiring lady, Dr. Meenakshi Nayar, a SABERA Awardee for Lifetime Achievement and the visionary founding president of ETASHA Society. Dr. Nayar has dedicated her life to empowering marginalized communities through skills training, counseling, resource linking. And through ETASHA, she has transformed the lives of 3.5 lakh individuals, including training thousands of youth and women in skills, employability, and entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, Dr. Nayar, for what you're doing. And thank you so much for taking the time for having this conversation with us.
My pleasure being here, Suparna. And I must say, I love listening to the invocation you started with. We used to sing that in school as well. So it took me back to that. Yes.
Yeah. It's so important to keep connected with the roots, to keep connected with what actually has shaped us. And that is something that I also am always intrigued whenever I get an impact leader on this conversation. I want to understand from you, Dr. Nayar, what have been your influences while growing up?
There's a lot to thank for, Suparna. I've had absolute, I'm so grateful for the parents I have, for the loving family I have grown up in, to my school teachers. My school, I've had the most amazing experiences in school, college, in my higher education, very inspiring teachers. And of course, the predominant influence remains of my parents, my mother and father. My mother, who was way back in those 30s and 40s in an India which was just evolving, she had the courage to fight against the predominant customs, the things that held women back. And she was quite active in the community against things like the parda. And she had the courage to be the first woman in the community to get married without the parda. And so also my father, who was a great social worker apart from being a wonderful professional. So, yeah, inspiration has been there all around, and very grateful to have received all of that.
And what did you study in? I know you were a PhD scholar. What is your focus of expertise?
My focus has always been the human being, starting with psychology, understanding the human being from the individual perspective as well as the societal perspective. And that's what took me to do a PhD in organizational behavior, understand organization development issues, beings in organizations, and and the whole impact of training and developing the mind and the emotional uh, being of the person, bringing the whole person as a whole into whatever they do. So that's really what has interested me and kept me going.
So I'm sure you would have made use of this very important and pertinent training that you've had, because normally what I've seen is a lot of my interactions have revealed that there has been always a personal kind of a trigger that keeps an individual going on the path that they are, or they have actually utilized knowingly or unknowingly the kind of influences that they may have had while growing up themselves. So when you go out, and I'm sure you would have had a lot of interactions with the community on a one-on-one basis, is behavior a major challenge for you to overcome before actually imparting what you have gone out to do?
You know, behavior, and with that, what we like to call mindset, is really what one needs to work with. One of the things, for example, when I talk to anyone in the low income communities, whether it is women or it is young men, adolescents, whatever, we ask them, what are your strengths? And they fumble to find even one strength to mention, and they can give you a litany of weaknesses. So it's their belief in themselves, their mindset, their lack of self confidence, which is what holds them back most of the time. And
Hmm.
that's been my learning, again, from my own personal experiences.
Hmm.
I knew that it took me a major support of a great teacher to pull out of the feeling of lack of confidence that I lived with, which helped me evolve and grow. And that's what I have built a lot of my curriculum, whether when I'm teaching adolescents, or whether we are working with young youth from low income communities, obviously, to get into industry and prepare them for a whole different environment. What we need to do is help them overcome this sense of lack of confidence, and build a sense of, yes, I can do, the can do, I am capable of doing it, I will do it. It's that movement from I am no good to I can do is the movement, I think, that we need to have every individual move through. And
Hmm.
that's when they can reach their potential, and literally the sky becomes the limit.
So, when was the first time you actually thought that, hey, listen, you know what? I have done this. I have lived my corporate career. Now it's about time that I go out and try to impact somebody's life. I mean, we're not talking about so many millions of lives that you've impacted, but that very first life or that very first trigger to actually go out and use your skills for social impact.
you know the thought of moving out from the corporate sector came from a complex of things. One was of realizing how difficult it is for people to change who've grown up in one kind of environment, and how increasingly in today's world they need to continually change, continually learn, continuously grow, and continuously change is so critical. And then the realization with that was that that kind of mindset where you're prepared to continuously learn and grow can be built in only at the age while you are adolescent. I mean, maybe it can be later as well, but it's much more meaningful to get it at that stage. And so it seemed that made a lot of sense to work with adolescents and youth in their formative years to get them into that mindset of changing and growing.
Mhm.
So that was what came to me, along with that realization that I was hitting 50, and knowing that, given the socio-economic or whatever health changes that are nutritional and health and changes that were happening in the world around, there was a good chance one would live to the age of 75 and 80, and the normal retirement was at 58, which meant at least almost 20 productive years after that. And I knew that at 50, I had the energy to get started fresh, which I may not have at the age of 58 or 60. So, yeah, that seemed to be the personal kind of a thing, that it's time I did something, and something much more impactful, which went beyond just earning good money for myself and my family. And yeah, so that's probably where the time wise the trigger came. But beyond that, what I have got into working came in when I visited a slum community at the invitation of another NGO. Before that, I had no understanding of the development sector, no understanding of what an NGO was about, or even the situation around the country. So as I got invited to by that NGO, and I interacted with young people, and I walked around the community, I was very hit by the question of the need for training and getting people into employment. So yeah, that's where the primary trigger for setting up ETASHA came up.
Okay, so
Just to describe it a little more, I saw that in the middle of a day, in a very unhealthy, bad environment, there were these men and youths in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, hanging around doing nothing. And I could clearly figure out that it wasn't by choice. It was just that they didn't know how to go about it. They didn't have the skills or the equipment to do it, or to even get connected with them. So that was the thought, that maybe, having been an HR person where I'd recruited thousands of people over 20 years, I just needed to prepare these people to join industry and to
So
get in.
I'm seeing a bit of a how this Itasha society actually kind of evolved and how it took shape. Of course, a lot of it has to do with making the youth employable, and
Yeah.
not just the youth. How Itasha society developed into also extending its umbrella for older women.
Yeah.
And I think that is a segment that is completely ignored. Women any which ways cut through all other discrepancies that may happen, and especially older women, it's almost like you tend to become invisible. There are not much that you can get involved with, structured learning, so on and so forth. And I think you, as an individual, to have started out at 50 itself is an extremely inspirational story for all of us to be following suit in terms of what is it that we want to do. Um, and when it comes to women in especially settings of, say, urban slums, I'm sure you would have had to deal with a lot of this behavioral change and mindsets change before you actually went ahead and try to involve them in your outreach.
Yeah, you're so right, Suparna. And you're so right when you say that it's all about getting youth into employment and getting the families out of poverty. And when we started to do this in communities, and the results were visible, there were kids who were hanging around doing nothing, as in their own words, जो आवारा से घूमते थे, 2 महीने 3 महीने की ट्रेनिंग के बाद अच्छी बड़ी कंपनी में काम कर रहे हैं और पैसे कमा रहे हैं, जिससे सारी फैमिली का न्यूट्रिशन लेवल इंप्रूव हो रहा है. द मदर कैन वेरी प्राउडली से कि मैं अब हफ्ते में एक दिन तो इनको अच्छा नॉन वेजिटेरियन खाना खिला सकती हूँ बच्चों को, वट एवर एंड कि फ्रूट ले आते हैं घर में. So from that it evolved to the women coming back to us saying, and more mothers would walk up and say, हमें भी तो कुछ करने को काम दो, हमें भी कमाना है, पर पूछो कि आता क्या है. हम तो पढ़े लिखे भी नहीं हैं, 5वीं तक पास हैं या 8वीं तक हैं या कभी स्कूल ही नहीं गए, तो हमें तो कुछ नहीं आता, पर हम कर सकते हैं सब कुछ. So started from there, and when the opportunity came, we did take the plunge. It was a bit of a plunge, saying that yes, we will not get them into employment, but we'll get them into doing something of their own, become entrepreneurs. And that has been a very, very beautiful experience for me personally, for ETASHA, where we see that these are women who are who have never stepped out of their homes. They needed permission to go to the market. They needed permission to get on a bus from the family, which is actually what prevails in a lot of villages around Delhi itself and in the slum communities in Delhi, where women have never stepped out of their slum community.
Mhm.
And they actually, many of them had never seen a metro living in Delhi.
Mhm.
So there from that situation of the women, to get them to run and manage self-owned, self-managed businesses and earn very often more than their husbands ever did,
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
than the family has ever, bring in more money into the family than the family has ever seen. So
Mhm.
this has been a very energizing, very exciting experience. And what we have found is basically, it's again just that, turning the woman from believing that she can do it. Because actually, a lot of the skills, the typical woman running a very low income household already knows. She knows how to maximize the resources. She knows how to get the best out of the little money she has. She knows how कि एक ही सब्जी बना के बच्चों को खुश रखना है, खाना खिलाना है, तो उसकी सब्जी, उसका खाना कितना टेस्टी होगा, right? So who manages to bring in her skills, her understanding, her management of money into getting the most for the family. So we build on that. We do a fair amount of basic education, including using the mobile phone, including doing paytms, including going into a bank, opening bank accounts, getting managing the bank account on their own, to going into markets to see where the good marketplaces are, where their products can sell, to going into wholesale markets to get the best, lowest price for a good quality product. So we do all that. We get them on a metro to learn to travel on their own. We get them on buses. We handhold them through their process of writing accounts, maintaining daily account books, all of that. But at the core of it is building their confidence in themselves and their skills.
Building the confidence in themselves in recognizing that they already are an entrepreneur and what it takes to have a successful business. I think no one would know that better than a bootstrap mother who's trying to manage a family of 5 or 6 people and individuals in terms of food, finances, and everything else that goes along with this. Also, I remember you sharing this little anecdote about the Momo lady. Why don't you share that with the wider audience as well?
Yeah, there is that, and there are many more like that. I would also share another one with you, Suparna, of this 50 something year old lady whose husband was an auto rickshaw driver. And he had an accident and therefore could not drive anymore. So there was no money coming in, and we helped her set up a chai ka stall, which is all she could do. But gradually she added pakoras to that, and she added parathas to that, and her stall, obviously she started earning good money. And when I met her just a year or so after we got her started, she came and told me, Madam, मैं लेने वाली, and can you see my hand? मैं लेने
Yes.
वाली से देने वाली बन गई हूँ. मैंने अपने हस्बैंड को लोन देके उसका ऑटो रिक्शा वापस लगवाया है.
Wow.
Okay. So, and yeah, the Momo story is this young lady who was, because her husband had, fallen ill and could not work. And so there was no money coming into the family, and a family of better off brothers and so on, brothers in law, and feeling the neglect from the family, the, put down by everyone. To starting from that emotion, and of course alongside the emotion to support her 3 children, this woman, we helped her recognize that one thing she did very well was make good, tasty momos, which we, of course, got her to make for us. And we tasted, and we were all convinced that they are excellent momos. And we got her started on that momo stall. And today, when she's on Swiggy, and today, when she goes in to set up a stall in the BT office, which is one of our supporters, on Diwali, and her momos are a hot selling item. I mean, we have people coming in. Other momo stall, is it on? Are we going to get that? And she can earn as much as 5,000 rupees a day from there. And how that has changed the whole situation for her, where her husband not just goes in to buy the veggies for her in the morning, sometimes also stands at the stall. And
Mhm.
the respect she's getting from the family, where
Wow.
and also where she can actually, her daughter is studying in Delhi Skill University, doing her post graduation course over there. So, yeah, the transformation that happens from the need, of course, the desire, the ambition to do it, and that little hand holding which we can do to uh, skill them, of course. Just to add to this, very interestingly, the momos she used to make were good, but her chutney was not good. And she
Okay.
finally got her recipe for the chutney from the internet on her
Oh,
own.
okay.
And it's an excellent chutney.
Super.
Now,
I guess when I'm visiting next the Tasha Society, I'm looking forward to the momos with a new chutney recipe.
anytime at all.
Okay. Also, now I wanted to bring on to our viewers the way that one can get in touch with ETASHA. Of course, we're scrolling your website address, which is etasha.org. Are you open to collaborations? Are you open to volunteers? Are you open to what kind of support that you're looking at as a society?
Oh, I have to say this, that although we have grown very slowly, organically, we've done whatever made sense to us. Whatever we saw the need in the community, we've responded to that, learned from our mistakes, grown, gotten where we are. But today, we really believe that whatever we do, the three elements of education, employment, and empowerment, and all these elements, the programs, that the interventions we do are impactful programs, and we really believe that we should be doing this at much larger scale. So we are looking to grow. We are looking to grow, of course, through support from our corporate partners, our amazing, wonderful donors, individuals who've been donating year after year very generously. Also, corporates who have supported us for many years, but also many individuals who, through their corporate or on their own, have come in as pro bono volunteers, pro bono project creators. We've got immense value in IT, in different kinds of IT platforms, from individuals who've done pro bono work for us. And so we are registered on a lot of corporate platforms like Tata Pro Engage, and also most of our corporate sponsors like BT and SMS and Accenture and others also have their Floor Daniel. There are many more great corporates who support us now, and their volunteers come in to do different kinds of jobs, online or offline, technical support or training our team, training our students, doing a lot of diverse things, or setting up our IT packages, databases, lots of different kinds of benefit we get. And also from school students and college students who come in as interns, from management colleges, from design schools, from normal colleges, schools. We really value the individual skills that people come with and help us with, which really enlarge what we Itashians can do. It and does it manyfold, enlarges it manyfold. So we really welcome volunteers as much as all the guidance and support we get from corporates. We are very, very open to collaboration now that we feel that we need to scale up and we can do what we are doing. The need is immense across the country. One really feels कि जिधर भी नजर डालो, जिधर भी हाथ डालो, काम बहुत है करने को हमारे लिए भी or everybody else, every thinking person in this country who can contribute with their skills or their money. There is plenty for them to do, which is meaningful, which is impactful, which can transform, change lives, and really help people get out of the morass they are caught in.
Ravi Swaminathan says Itasha is doing a great job. There's Team White Hill is wishing you a very good afternoon. And I think before we wrap up this conversation, I would also like to know how your experience was of SABERA, because you were on the platform for the very first time and exposed to what SABERA is. I'd love to know how your experience was.
Oh my God. First of all, interacting with Suparna and understanding where you came from and your vision of what you are doing was mind blowing to start with. Really, hats off to you, Suparna. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity also to get to know you and to get to know the amazing number of wonderful people doing great jobs across the country. I really, it was quite mind blowing meeting people, younger people, older people, people as individuals, and the amount of change they're working to bring about in the country. It was very inspiring and also gave one a huge sense of hope to see so many people doing so much good.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Suparna.
Thank you, Dr. Nayar, for what you're doing. SABERA is only because of individuals and organizations that are led by individuals like you that are putting India on the road to sustainable development, something that is really the vision of SABERA. For us as a collective to create this positive narrative of the country, highlighting the good work which is happening in every nook and corner of the country. Thank you so much, Dr. Nayar, once again for doing this for us.
Thank you, Suparna, and thank you, Ravi Swaminathan, for your comment. Thank you.
Yes, and I think there is another comment before we actually close this show. Itasha is impacting so many youth and women doing a stupendous job. RED Consulting, Alka Bakaya, Ritu Motwani have commented this for you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alka and Ritu. And thank you, Suparna.
Thank you once again.